Chokponi Sahantutu. Thank you, whomever is recording. So let me also record it so that let's see if I can. Where's the? See, it's not here. It's here. So let me also record. Yes. So Chokponi Sahantutu. Sahang to draw. Chokponi Sakang to draw. So we know that sakang is restaurant. Sa means to eat. Kang means a house where you go to eat. So sakang. Chokpo is friend and ni is two. So two friends. We don't have an actual verb that says visiting, but it's more inferential in this case. We only have the word do, which means going. So it's more like two friends going to the restaurant. But visiting is something as a inferential translation rather than direct translation here. So Chokponi Sakang to Droa. Two friends going to or visiting the restaurant. So these are some of the lines that I was saying, some of the sentences, which I feel that will be useful in day-to-day conversation whenever you're visiting, whenever you're met with certain circumstance. Okay, so we have two of our friends, Tashila and Tsiringla here. So Kansa Tangbo, the first person. Taring ngen chir kala saru yongwar. So one thing that I will be emphasizing throughout the lesson is the usage of grammatical particles. The grammatical particles should be used according to the rule of the 30. Definitely, you will see that there is a somewhat of a usage which is more inclined towards the spoken language. Like, for example, some of you are writing tiki, right? Tiki, which is actually which is not correct, because tiki, because we are particular T, which doesn't have a suffix letter. And the 30 strongly dictates these rules, which what it does is that it tells you how something should be done in the usage of these particles. So therefore, these rules should be followed all the time. And then this other particle that, other particle that we're using, most of the time it's ya, yakayak, sayaki, cheyaki, troyaki. This is more of a spoken language particle, and it's also a great, it's also a sort of an influence to the Tibetan language by as it was being spoken in the exile. So cheyahins, troyahins, these are more in sense, it's more of a language that is strongly inclined towards the spoken language. And this particle is it is not incorrect when we take it in the context of spoken language. Cheyahins is not incorrect, but somewhat feels very unnatural, especially if you're studying the Tibetan grammar. When we already have the grammatical connective particles, there is no need for the colloquial particles to come. Because when we compare these two, when we compare a grammatical connective particle and a colloquial particle, we see that grammatical connective particle always have a more standardized and a greater recognition in the system of language. So therefore, these kind of particles, we should always avoid this. So, but I will talk about this at the end of the class. I'll try to keep it as brief as possible. So, tering ngeni or tering ngani, we can either say ngani, which is simply with nga, or we could say ngeni, which is with nge. So, tering ngani, tering ngeni, which means today, it's us or us both. So, tering ngeni, chir means out or outside. Kala saru, because sa doesn't have a suffix letter, it is followed by saru. Definitely the colloquial particle says saya, but still we strongly stick to the grammatical particle, which is ru, which is latin. Some of you might have heard this latin. It's latin. It's particle used in place of la, which we will study in the grammar class. So saru, tering chir, kala saru, yongwar, taochu sangwo. Taochu means a decision. So Tashila says that deciding to go out to eat today was a great decision. Sangwo means good or great. So depending on the degree of goodness, if it's a very good decision, it's a great decision. So deciding to go out to eat today was a great decision. So tering. So I will repeat this so that you can listen to the pronunciation. Tering ngeni chir kala saru yongwar. So please also pay attention to the fact that I am pronouncing all the r sound as clear as possible. Yongwar. And please understand that the sound is more of a round r sound. So yongwar. But still, you don't have to roll it. It's a rolling R, but please make sure that you don't roll it too much. Otherwise, it becomes yongwar. It's too much. So yongwar, taochu sango. Taring ngeni chir kala saru yongwar, taochu sango. Deciding to go out to eat today was a great decision. Lare, which is a line that says yes, which is agreeing, but with being polite. It's a more polite way to say, yes, I agree. Lare. Tering lekar. So you see that we have a lot of connective particles here. So tering lekar hakpar thop ve. So I will clarify more about this in the grammar class, but this is ve was a ve. In addition of sa, it's a grammatical particle. What it does is that it gives a reasoning. So it gives a reasoning. So therefore, it's a conjoining particle or connective particle that joins a reason to a statement. Okay, so tering lekar hakpar thok songwe. Talk means to take time. Talk songwe. Nangla churtu kala sower. Komsa mare te supula yang supula nushu kyang tangwar minduk. So you see that this sentence is actually it's a long sentence, and it uses a bit of connective particles because there are few narration in this sentence. But this sentence is a very good sentence because it consists of the proper usage of the connective particle. with the perfect amount of politeness. It's not too polite, but it's still polite. And it can be used in both formal and informal situations. So, tarin lekar hapar tosongwe. So this is a reasoning. Nang la chor tu. Sometimes also nang la chor tse. Tse in tu means at the time. At, it's more like at. Chor tu. Khala sovar. Komsa mare the. Supula nushu kyang tangwar mintu. So the Tsringla says that yes, meaning agreeing in a polite manner. It took us more time to finish work today. Taring lekar hakpar toksong, which means talk means taking time. Hakpar means extra or more. Lega means work. So it took us more time to finish work today, and so comes from this. It's giving a reasoning. The sa. In this context, it's so, but whenever it's used, it doesn't mean that it means so. But in this context, it is so. Remember, those who are joining me from the grammar class, remember we discussed that connective particles should not be given individual meaning. So it's so only in this sentence. It can change depending on different word, different sentence, different structure. So there is neither time nor energy within us to cook when we reach home. Reach is jorwa. Home is nang. Nang la chortu is when or at the time. So there is neither time nor energy within us to cook when we reach home. So Tsringla says that since it took us more time to finish work today, there is neither time nor energy within us to cook when we reached home. So I will repeat this one more time so that you can listen to the pronunciation. La re. Tering lekar hakpar toksongwe. Nang la chur tu kala sowar. Komsa mare te. Supula nushukyang tangwar mintu. Okay, so la re. Tering lekar hakpar toksongwe. Nang la chur tu kala sowar. Komsa mare te. Supula nushukyang tangwar mintu. So this sentence has the meaning of, yes, it took us more time to finish work. So there are different scenarios, and you can use this particular sentence, that is, lekar hakpar toksongwe. So if you're late for something, you can say like, oh, chitasong, kain sena tarin lekar hakpar toksong, which means I was late because today it took more time to finish the work, or it took more time for me to finish the work today. So you can use either entire sentence or you can use a narration of the sentence. Okay, so Tashila says, Lare, which means agreeing. So Tashila is also agreeing. Yes, yes, I agree with you, because definitely I also don't think I have time nor the energy to cook at home. Which means I agree. Laso, saying la. Togong means tonight. Togong, shela kang shuki yin nam. So, so chu is the honorific of sa, to eat. And nam, as we know, is the interrogative particle, as well as kang, which is a general particle. It's a generalized particle for questioning. So, lasto, tsiring la togong shela kang chugi yin. So yes, I agree. I agree. Laso, okay. Tsiring la, what would you like to eat tonight? Togong is tonight. Chu is eat. It's an honorific for eat. And then shela is food and kang is what. So what would you like to eat tonight? Sitting la. So this is the sentence. So normally, if you agree with someone, you can say which means I agree. And if you want to increase the degree or the amount of agreeing with them, like sometimes we try to use those exaggerations. So you can say means 100%. 100%. So kya is 100, kya is percent. Cha is per, kya is cent. Cent means 100, right? So kya, which means 100%. So I agree 100%. If you agree very much with that person, so you can say that. Otherwise, normally you can say yes, I agree. So this sentence means yes, I agree. Okay, Singla, what would you like to eat tonight? Okay, now I will repeat it once for pronunciation. Lare nye mutunyu laso Singla togon shela kang chuki yinnam. Okay, so Singla, the second person answers laso, which is acknowledging what Tashila has said in a polite manner. Sometimes in more casual setting, you may say which is very formal. You use within it's used depending on term, depending on tone. If you say it as it's more like casually acknowledging what has been said. But if you use it with a harsh tone like that's like more threatening. So it depends on the tone. So I think most of us are aware of the concept of nuances. So there are different nuances in Tibetan too. So even though one word one word may have different meaning depending on the way you say it. So lasso, it's the more polite way. Sane totep is the menu. Sane means sene. Se is food. Ha is the option or type. Totep is the list book. Actually, totep means list book. But here it's a list of food, so it is the menu. Sene totep. Sene. He, because ha is the type. Naka. He, because of the manipulation, the sound by yi. So sene totep, which is the list of food. The list of food. Sene totep. La tene. Tene means to look. After looking at the menu, ta jigin. I will decide. Ta means to decide in future tense, to decide. So I will decide after looking at the menu. So Tsingla says that he will decide after looking at the menu. Okay, so sanhe totep means menu. Sene totep means menu. Say food. He, different types. Totep is the list book. So a list of food, menu. Tache means will decide. I will decide after looking at the menu. Okay, let me repeat this once more for the pronunciation. Lasso, always pause there. Mentally count 1, 2, and then you can start speaking. Lasso. Sene totep la tene ta chegin. So it's always better if you tend to speak slowly, clearly, and with a pause, a little bit of pause in between. So, lasso, sene totep la tene ta chigin. Kansa tangbo, first person. So, lade. So agreeing. Oh, yes, agreed. So remember, lare can be yes, or sometimes it could also mean agreed. Like we say, oh, agreed. I agree with you. Agreed. So the person is thinking, what is there to eat? So kang is what, but when there are many types, many options, many types. If there are many types and many options, then we use kang. Usually better to use in options or different kinds, varieties, rather than the amount of things. So, lare, agreed. Shela, ta shela, kanda kantuk. So, agreed. What food is there? So, Tashila is thinking as he's browsing through the menu. Lare. So, let me repeat this for pronunciation. Lare. Sometimes if you want to actually pronounce everything, then lakre. But then this becomes the sound too strong. When I say too strong, it becomes too because lakre, there's too much distinction. The flow breaks down. You see, it doesn't act as a smooth flow. It's as if there is a break in the between lak re. So la re, it's more smoother. La re, ta shela kang tang kang tu. So he's thinking. Tsing la kang sa nipa la. So acknowledging what he said. Taring shamye sagu samchung. Taring means today. Shame means vegetarian. Sha is meat, and shame is without meat, so vegetarian. Taring shame sag samchung. Today I sag means I had a thought, but when we translate it, we won't translate it as I had a thought that I should have vegetarian, because this becomes a very strange sentence when you translate it. Rather, it is translated as I'll have vegetarian food. I think, or we can say, I think I'll have vegetarian food. So that could be also one way to translate it. Tashila, shayu yinam shamein. So so Tsingla is asking, would you like to eat vegetarian or non-vegetarian food, Tashila? So the sentence means, so the first one, la, is just an acknowledgement. I think I'll have vegetarian food. Would you like to eat vegetarian or non-vegetarian food today, Tashila? Okay, let me repeat this. La, which is acknowledgement. La taring shame sagu samchung. Tashila shayuinam shamein. So today I think today I'll have vegetarian. Tashila, would you like vegetarian or non-vegetarian? So Tashila says, La, nga pelcher momo sagu samchung ve shayuin. La, nga pelcher. So we can say nga pelcher momo sagu samchung. Can either say nga, or we can use the particle and say nge pelcher momo sagu samchung. It becomes more of an active sentence, but still you can also say nga. Nga pelcher momo sagu samchung. Where, because what happens is that sometimes when you use too much connective particles, the sentence actually becomes too wordy and it doesn't sound very good. So in those cases, sometimes we actually skip those connective particles. In some cases, it's allowed to skip those. For example, like nga pilcher, you don't have to write nge. Nga pilcher momo sag samchung. Where samchung where here giving a reason. Shayuin. So he says shayu means non-vegetarian. I'll probably have momo. So non-vegetarian food. So he's having non-vegetarian because he probably wants to have momo. So that's the reason. Let me repeat it once for pronunciation. La nga pilchir momo sag samchung we shayuyin. La nga pilchir momo sag samchung we shayuyin. Okay, so I will probably have momo, so non-vegetarian food. Kansa nipa, so tsiringla says laso. Acknowledging, okay. Nga shoko tsematang tingmo in, which means I will have. So here, we don't have a particular word that says I'm going to eat. There's no sa. But here it says for me. It's like for me. Nga shoko tsematang tingmo in is saying like for me. Potato and sorry, it's not rice. It's actually so. I will correct this and make sure to send this. It's potato and steam bun. So tingmo is steam bun. It's not rice, it's steam bun. I think I was thinking too much about my favorite food, so therefore I had written potato and rice. But it's actually potato and steam buns. So very sorry for this mistake. I'll make sure that I correct this and send you the correct one. So okay, I will have potato and rice, potato and steamed buns. So tingmo is steamed buns, or sometimes sometimes also known as steamed bread. So let me repeat the sentence. Laso nga shogo tsematang tingmo yin. Laso nga shogo tsematang tingmo yin. Kansa tangpo. So tashila first person. Tadung shela shen min kang tang kang tu kam. Tadung means what else? Tadung means what else? So we will actually deal with these type of particles too. Tadung. Some in the more northern Tibet, it's also known as tarung. This is the reason why in some of if you have actually read the text of some of the Kadamba practitioners, those Mahasiddhas, you will see in the text the usage of the word tarung. And then there's also we have kutin, but more polite way to say it's kutin. We have kutin, sakataka shabduku, tatrautin, kutin che. So these are more used in the more northern Tibet. We have tarung, tani, things like this. So, but these are more regional influence. But you will see them in the text. You will see because this the Mahasiddhas who have written those texts, definitely they write it in their own original. Most of the time they read in their own original language. So tadung shela shen min kang dukam. Shen means other or else. So what else is there to eat? So this is a inferential translation. It's more inferential translation rather than direct translation. It says, what else is there to eat? So tadung shela shen min kang dukam. Tadung shela shen min kang dukam. So let me just repeat this because I feel that sometimes pronouncing these correctly is also important. So Foponi sakang to draw. Taring ni chir kala saru yongwar ta chu sango. Lade tirin lekar hakpar tosongwe nang la churtu kala sor komsa marete supula nushu kyang tangwar mintu. Lade Nye mutun yue. Laso, tsini la togon she la kang shuki innam. Laso, sene toteb la tene ta shuki in. Lare, ta she la kang ta kang tu. La tarin shame sagu samchung, tushi la shayu innam shame. So you see that this particle that we have for questioning, sometimes it comes in between two choices and it acts as or, a conjunction or. So therefore, that's the reason why you should never, ever give a single meaning to these. Like, for example, we have word like kushu. Kushu is okay because it's a name. We can say it's an apple, and it's always going to be an apple because it's a constant. Whereas this, it's a variable. When I say variable, it changes the meaning according to the sentence and the context of the sentence and the position in which it is used. So therefore, never assign a meaning to these particles, these grammatical particles, never assign a single meaning to them. You're always going to lose when you do that. Sometimes you may feel like, oh, if I assign a meaning to that, then it will be easier for me to learn Tibetan. But then most of the time it turns into disasters and people say, oh, why so many particles? And why does Tibetan have one single thing? In one sentence, it means something else. And in other sentence, it means something else. It's because these are not constant, these are not names which have constant meaning. These are particles that changes meaning according to the context and the usage and the position. So this is something that must be understood. It's a new concept in Tibetan and definitely a concept that takes time to understand. But as you understand it, then the entire structure of Tibetan becomes so much more easier to understand. So therefore, for me, normally when someone studies the spoken language, I teach through the written language, I always recommend them to learn grammar. Because grammar tells you what these means in particular sentence. Okay, so la. Nga pelcher momo sage samchungwe shayu yin. Laso, nga shogo tsema tang chungmo yin. Tadung shela shen ming kang tu kam. Okay, so this is the script for today. And most importantly, try to take as much lines from this as possible and try to adopt them into your own Tibetan language. This, you see, this script is not just a script. This is going to be your Tibetan language. This is going to be the language that you will be speaking when you say, I speak Tibetan. So make sure that you have these lines and you understand these lines. And if you don't understand them, ask me so that I can clarify them. Ask these in the group so that I can clarify them, so that at the end of the course of the beginner Tibetan language, you can actually speak a little bit, definitely to speak a little bit. And the thing is that if you practice it every day, and then if you adopt this in your own Tibetan speaking or Tibetan language that you have learned, and then substitute some of the lines if they are similar, and if you think that they are similar, compare and substitute those with the ones that I have written here, and then try to form an entire Tibetan language. I mean, when I say form, I mean try to form a language that you're going to speak. And that is going to be the Tibetan language that you will be speaking for your entire life when you say you speak Tibetan. And this is actually a very polite way to speak. And definitely most of the, not most, every single grammatical structure is correct. There is no grammatical mistake here. So it's actually a very good way of speaking. So if you actually try to incline towards the spoken language, but definitely please decide for yourself. But yes, try to adopt as much as possible. Even if you don't want to adopt an entire sentence, you can adopt a portion of it, or sometimes even some words. So this is the script for today. Now let's just go to the new words, some of the new words. Names of some food. So these are all food. These are all food that we normally see. So some of these, most probably all of these, you might have heard of, most probably. So I have just written here to give the names. And the thing is that when it comes to food, most of the food are already too renowned that most of the people know the name of the food. But the main reason why we covered this today was for the script, where you can take some of the important lines there. And when it comes to new words, there will be few new words. So momo is momo. It's the dumpling, the Tibetan dumpling, momo. Then we have tingmo, which means steamed bun. And then we have paglip, which is bread. Te, which is rice. Then we have laping, which is cold noodle made of cornstarch. So it's made of cornstarch. Like you might have seen them. You have this these white color noodle thing, these cold noodle, which they serve with soy sauce, vinegar, and chili, a lot of chili, actually. They have this garlic water also. So it comes in two variety, the yellow and the white one. But the yellow one is actually not made of cornstarch. The white one is made of cornstarch. Tentuk, which is the tentuk. Some people actually calls it square noodle because of the shape, but the actual meaning of tentuk, ten means to pull. So it's a noodle that is made by pulling the dough. So what you do is you take a dough, you flatten it, and then you just pull it, and then you put it in the boiling water or the soup. So since you pull it, it's called tentuk. Shapalep is it's like calzone. It's like fried bread, like a calzone, and you have like stuffed meat inside. And similarly with shogopale, it's the difference is that in this you stuff potato instead of meat. Ping, which is rice noodle, normally served with potato, normally made as a addition to a vegetable, normally potato and mushroom. And then we have gyatuk, which is soup noodle. Chinese, gya means Chinese, so Chinese noodle. So gyatuk. Now we have these three types of, so we have shayu ise, which means shami, sorry, it's shami. These two are. So let me use the chat here. Shami is, let me just do this. So shami is vegetarian, and shayu is non-vegetarian. Shayu is non-vegetarian. I'll just so non-vegetarian, and then we also have the karkyong khone se. Karkyong, which means food that are not from, it is food that doesn't come from animals, so it's vegan. Karkyong khone se, khona means only. So these are the three terms, and this is relatively a new term that came into the Tibetan society. So this is a new term. It's a term that is actually not that old, probably a few years now. So because you must understand that in Tibet they don't have this kind of concept, because everyone they depended on farming, and they were nomads, and they were people who were both farmers and nomads. And what they used to do was the barter system, in which what they did was the nomads would come. They used to have like this big market or the fair where they used to come, and sometimes they used to sell their animals. Sometimes they used to sell things like butter, meat, or sometimes they used to sell things like skin. And then the farmers would bring barley, wheat, sometimes vegetables. They don't have a lot of vegetables, but some like the radishes and things like this, or the onions, and then they used to trade. So you see that it's everyone was heavily dependent on both animals and agriculture. So therefore, in Tibet, only two types of food, vegetarian and non-vegetarian. That was the concept. And this came relatively new. Kargyong Khone vegan. Okay, so these are some of the new words. Let me just repeat them for the pronunciation's sake. Mokmo, Tingmo, Paglep, De, Leping, Tentuk, Shapaglep, Shogopaglep, Ping, Yatuk, Shayukise, Shamekise, Karkyong. Kyong means to sustain, or to normally kyong means to sustain. Kar means white, which normally refers to food that are not from the animals. So karkyong kone se. But this seems to be quite misleading also, because karse, which is another word, karse, which let me just write it. It's always better if I write it. It's so much better if I write it. So karse, which means food that is white. So it doesn't mean vegetable or anything. It's food that is white. So things like butter, milk, and then we have tsampa. We have tsampa. So these are the things. These are the things which are known as karse. And then some of you have heard of. I'm not sure if you have heard of this. It's a term that we use normally. This is a term that we use when ever there is something that is to be made as an offering. So it's a type of offering. So it's karsum, ngarsum. 3 white food, 3 sweetening. And the karsum always refers to the barley, or it refers to the barley, flour, the milk, and the butter. And ngarsum is the sugar, the honey, and the brown sugar that we use. So these are the 3 sweet and the 3 white food. So karse normally means those 3: butter, barley flour, and milk, which is very misleading here. Here kar has actually, what they did is they took a different take in this. When they say kar, what they're saying is by kar, they means virtuous food, food that doesn't depend on killing or things like this, you know. So therefore we have kevele, namkar kevele. So this is the take that they are taking here. And kyong means sustaining, kona means only, se. So this is a very new word. It's a very new term, which is for the vegan. Now let me just do this. There's now the last part, which has to do with let me just screen share this. Let me just screen share this. So kara tongzi puram. Yes, kara is the sugar, tongzi is the honey, and puram is the brown sugar. So as you see in the if you just look at the group chat, we see that these are the three. So the Dashala has shared us the three sweet food, which is for the offering kara, which we have with the text. I have to take the memorization test. I'm very sorry. It just escaped my mind for this class. I don't know why. But now when I see kara, I remember that one of you will have to give the test for today for this. And tangzi is honey and puram is the brown sugar. So we see that we have kara, tangzi, and puram, which is, let me just take it here, and then I will use this document to write, because I think that it's why? Oh, it's like this then, it seems. Okay, I hope everyone is able to see this. Let me just make it so that everyone can see this, and then this. So kara, tangzi, puram, which means sugar, honey, and brown sugar. So this is the three sweets, the sweet food. Ngarsu. So yes, jaggery. So jaggery, but yeah, when it made into sugar, it's normally called brown sugar. In India, actually, we have this. So it's jaggery. The correct term is jaggery. I couldn't recall it at that point, so I just used the word that was the nearest. So it's jaggery. So see, let me just see, because sometimes I do. Okay. So honey, sugar, honey, and jaggery. So the 5 sweet food. So therefore, the word karse is referring to the 3 sweet, mar, oma, sampa. So these are the 3 food that we normally refer to as the white food, which are the uh, 3 white food, champa, mar, and champa, mar, and homa. And this is the ingredient for all type of offering. When we do the not all type of offering, sorry, but normally when we do the offering, including when we do the offering to the hungry ghost and the wandering ghost, like sadly they cannot eat gross food like us, so we offer them. What we do is we burn a little bit of wood or incense, and then upon that we add this mixture, and then it's offered to them as food. Okay, so so the first thing that we're doing to deal with is yak. So cheak, proya. This is a particle that I'm trying to get rid of. I'm very sorry when I say this. It sounds like really harsh, but actually I'm trying to get rid of this particle because we already have the particle cheki or cheku. We have cheku. Why do we need another particle when we have a perfectly good particle here? Cheku, normally chagyu, right? So we have these particle Q. We are using this particle for future tense. So what is the use of actually having this particle chair? So this is one particle that I want to say that we're trying to change in our class. So if you're using this particle, yes, puram has two types. So yes, so normally we use that the one which is in this normally we don't use the sugar, but we use that other thing, the jaggery, the big one that we use. It comes it comes in like a round shape, and then we scrape off, and then we put it. Oh, and sorry, it's not Homa. Sometimes they use Homa, so it's actually sure curd. Normally we use curd, but sometimes what happens is that if you add curd, right, it becomes sour when you leave it for a long time. So Oma, why not? Oma is also used actually. So therefore, okay. So where was I? Oh yes, this particle. So we're trying to eradicate this particle. So make sure that you don't use this particle, and instead use this particle. It's perfectly wonderful particle, and it sounds wonderful. It's Q, Chagyuins. Instead of Chayains, it's Chagyuins, Rogyuins, Royains. You see? So we're so please make that transition from using this particle to this particle. And another thing that I have to address is, I don't know why this is happening, but this. So grammatically, this doesn't make any sense, because you see this particular word, right? It doesn't have a suffix letter. So since it doesn't have a suffix letter, this particle never follows it. And according to the rule that pertains this type of particle, it is stated. So let me write the rule. It's stated. It's this. Tang tame yi tang yi, which means if a word ta means last or end, tame means any word that doesn't have suffix letters. So this word ta me, this word, let me just make it red. So tame means no suffix letter. So tome means no suffix letter. So this doesn't have suffix letter. And if that's the case, you can either use this particle or you can use this particle. You can never use the other particle, which is ki. It is stated kanga ki. So this is stated in the rule. It states chöki ala chöki inam. In this talk today in with no chöku inam. Okay, so here so you're saying that since it was in the future tense, it's a question. So here we chögyinam or chögyinam. Definitely, if we are going to use you, it becomes a future tense, which says, what will you be eating? And what will you have? Definitely, it's a future tense. But with the usage of this connective particle, think let it has to be tricky in num. So it has to be with sa, which shows that an action is being done. So tricky in num, which shows an action. So here this doesn't indicate future or anything. It just shows that an action is being done. That's it. So ch is an action. So if there is the action word ki with the sa, what it does is that it acts as it acts as an addition to a verb, which tricky, which makes it into a participle form. So more of like future in the case. It doesn't go towards the tense. So this doesn't actually go to much towards the tense, but definitely there are times where it actually influences things. With the sa, it does influence the action to be more in some cases, more into the present tense. So this, instead of being future, it more or less becomes a more of a perfect tense. So present perfect tense. So what will you be having? So more like this. So you see that this is how it functions here. But we will talk about this more in the grammar class. But in this case, the reason why we have not used gu is because we already used this connected particle. But yes, you can also use gu, and it will be, so we could say, you can say, which doesn't violate the actual rule. It will still be a future tense because of this usage. So therefore, you can use the q, which is a very wonderful particle. Yes, it's a particle that goes towards the future tense, but you can also use the ki with the verb. But yes, I will clarify it more in the grammar class, I think. Yes, I will clarify it more in the grammar class. But in this case, definitely you could use this sentence, and it will be correct. So the rule that pertains the usage of this particular particle is kanga ki. So the suffix letter has to be ka or nga. It has to be either ka or either nga. So we see that neither of the criteria is being fulfilled here. So therefore, we cannot use the word ki. So it won't be tiki. It has to be ti. Right? And then chayins or doyins. Similarly, we see the word do. Because it doesn't have the suffix letter. Since it's a word without the suffix letter, it has he or ye. So this is the other thing that I wanted to say on regarding of uses. And definitely, the thing is that sometimes we know that when it comes to spoken language, there are a little bit of leniency. Yes, there are some leniency, but sometimes it becomes it becomes a reason to cover up many of the corruption that's happening with the language, like how the language is being influenced with particles which are not correct. And then they will say things like, oh, this is in the colloquial system. But the fact is that this is not a valid reason, and sometimes it may be influenced greatly by the regional dialect. And if it's greatly influenced by the regional dialect, sometimes it will have no reason rather than having a reason behind it. Right? So therefore, that is the reason why I'm trying to change this particular thing, that is usage of this where it doesn't belong and the usage of this, right? Okay. That's so, and then let me add a small particle for today. Tap. Chetap. Which means a work that is going to happen, or something that was at the verge of happening. Change. I was going to do that. I was almost going to do that. He almost died. Right? Shitap chesons. Not trogoton, shitap chesons. I almost died feeling hungry. Shitap, chetap. This particle, when added with a verb, what it does is that it changes it into it adds a meaning to that verb, which is almost happening, almost doing, almost done. So this particle tab is used in a manner where something is almost done, or something that is almost going to be done. So chetap, not the shitap chesos. I almost understood that. I almost comprehended that. Tadunchi labroche, ngeti shitap chesos. Please repeat it one more time. I almost understood it. Ngeti chetap means I was almost going to do that. He almost died. So it has a when it's added with a verb, it gives a meaning that's almost done. A meaning of almost done. So let me just write it. It's better to write it. Almost done. When added to a verb or action word. So this is the this is the particle that I wanted to introduce today. And then I'm also going to send the honorifics in the group so that you can check that. And before we go for question answer, it's the test, the memorization test. Tab and to. To is incorrect. So chetro cheese. It's incorrect. It's chetap cheese. So please pronounce it as tab. I told you, because when it comes to the colloquial language, many things has happened in the past 70 years since we lost Tibet. So I will definitely surprise you in many things when I say that this is incorrect, that is wrong, this is, and sometimes it might seem that I'm saying everything is wrong, but not everything is wrong, but definitely chetap chesos. We normally pronounce it as chetro chains, which doesn't make sense. So please pronounce it as tap, chetap, shit tap. So less so. So now before we go to the question answer, let's do the memorization. Those who have already participated, I think there were few people who have already participated. I think Perila has already participated, and has Ellen participated for the reading, for the oral test. So those who have not participated, select a number between 1 to 20. Lesser 1 to 20. So this time it's 1 to 20, I think. Lasso. So if you're unable to give the test, then we will do it next time when you are able to. And some of you may be joining me from your work. Okay, so if it's only Alan La, then please join in. Those who are joining me from work and are unable to read it, please, I will make, we will do it in another method, probably. But those who are able to participate, choose a number. So, and after that, I'll give you a chance to do question answer. Sorry, I'll give you the chance to ask 2 questions. And then I will send you the honor fix this evening. Or let's see if I'm able to do that. If I'm not able to do that, then I'll send it tomorrow. Otherwise, I'll send it today. Okay, so this is it. Let me generate a random number. Okay, so from 1 to 20. So you know the rule. If it's the number that you have selected, you're the one to read. If it's a number which is 1 less than the number you selected, if none of the number appears, then it's you. So 13. Who has chosen 13? 13? No 13? Okay. Okay, it seems no one has chosen 13. So, okay, 1, 2, 3, 1. Did anyone choose 1? No, no one chose 1 or 2. Okay, let me do it more time. 1, 2, 3. 12. Did anyone choose 12? No. 1 number greater than 12? No. Okay, 1, 2, 3. 9. Did anyone choose 9 or 10? No 10. So I think Hyunla, I think there's 2, 8. Can you please choose another number? Yeah. There are 2 8s. So if you could choose another number, then we can lasso. So okay, so then let's say 8 and 9. Okay, then we'll have Hyunla as 9 and then Ritula as 8. Okay, so 10. Does anyone have 10? Who has 11? Does anyone? Okay, so it's Urila. Okay, Urila, you'll be the one giving me the test today.
Yes. Yes.
That's
Yes. Yes, Genra. So, Kara Kushusha Setan, Kawa Koa Kangyain, Korua Kurtan Kurtutan, Sata Korwa Sakuruin, Garueku ni Sakura, Kumata ni Rakuin, Kuchojepa Kukyanda, Kupata ni Rakuin, Tashita ni Patara, Goeta ni Satain.
Okay, wonderful. So this is the text that we had till this next week. So those who are going to give me test next week, it is going to be the other text. The other text. So you know which text. When I say yes, when I say the text, it's the same with the kade, which is the a group of ka, but the other one. So you have actually had the text. I think the compilation was made by Elena of the text, Karakushu, and the other one. So it's longer. It's longer than this, but let me make a portion, because if I say everything, that would be unfair. So I will count the number of lines that this the first text had, and then I will make a portion which has the exactly same number. of same number of lines that this text had. And then you will be memorizing that. But that doesn't mean that you don't have to memorize the first text. If you have memorized it, read it every day. And then after the ka in that other, which we will do for 2 weeks. After that, we will go to ka, and then we will continue it. If we don't finish it, if we don't finish it by this course, which is the basic Tibetan class, we'll continue it during the Dharma vocabulary class that we will have in January, which is going to be all about Dharma words which are in the text. I'm not going to explain them in detail. It's going to be just surface explanation in English. And then I will make some sentence so that you'll get an idea of how to understand those words. And also during that class, you will be memorizing this text. And then during the intermediate conversation class, and then finally the advanced conversation class. And we are also going, for those who are joining me for the more beginner class, we also have beginner reading class, which we have done. After that, we will have the intermediate reading class, which will be more difficult, but yes. And at the end, then we will have advanced reading class where you'll be able to read well, most probably. Okay, so questions. 2 questions. I can take 2 questions today. So 2 questions. Does anyone have questions regarding today's lesson?
I have a question, Gana.
So.
It's about the usage of ge.
The usage of ki?
Ge. Dao ganaro go sa ge in
yes.
ge samchung. Ge samchung. Because I learned like ge is like to need or to must. So in this kind of sentence, I don't really understand the meaning of ge or function. I don't know.
So you mean in the script, right?
Yes.
Okay, so let me just 1 minute. Now let me just do this so that I can just send it now, because I think you're making documents for the okay, so okay, so before that, let me open so we have it here. Let me go here. Okay, so you mean in this one, right? Sagu samchong.
Yes.
Sagu samchong, right? So
yes,
this, it doesn't mean that I need to. It's more like I think I will have, or I want to have. It's more like to want or to aspire to do something. It's like it's more like in here it's like sagu means I feel the need to, or I feel that I want to. Yes, types of food. So I need I feel the need to, or I want to. It's more like I feel the need to, or I want to.
Yes. And what is the difference with depa to want? Yes, depa.
Okay, so want is is to want and to aspire, definitely. So here we see that the usage of the ge, sa ge, has to, it doesn't give the urgency of to need, but it has more of a sense of to want because of the urgency. So you see that in this sentence, we see that Tsiringla doesn't need to eat the vegetarian food. It's just that in this time, he wants to eat Sagu Samchung, meaning I feel like I want to. But definitely you can reconstruct the sentence to say Taring shame kala sadu chung. Right? Ge some or de are. So here, ge some has a meaning like de. So it's a phrase instead of a term. Normally, the normal thing that you're saying is of the single term that is ge, right? Let me just.
Ge, yangna, gere. Sometimes also we can read.
Yes, good, right? So we have good. So here you see that when we use it as a single word, it means to need. But good, some can mean two words. It can mean either. Is it to everyone? No, I think it's not to everyone. So good, some. It's a phrase.
Gana, is it because it is associated to some?
Yes,
it means want.
But it's also not that simple. I'm very sorry.
Okay.
Because some may not always mean I want. Sometimes we say right? In that case, definitely it means that I thought I needed to do that, or I thought I need to do that. But the problem is that the sentence, the urgency of, so therefore we need to understand the urgency of the sentence here. Here we see that Sringla says he needs to, but this doesn't become need because it is not something that he cannot live without or he cannot do without it, that situation. Therefore, it's just a choice of food. Definitely, during this evening that Tringla and Tashila was having food, he could have non-vegetarian food and it wouldn't have had any effect on him. So therefore, whenever you say with some, normally it shows that there is a it is more like I thought I should do that. So it says that it's more like thinking. But if we use the similar sentence by saying like membe gi sungzang nye te sa for samchung, now the urgency actually increases. For example, if we say membe sha masa sung ve nye sha me kala sa gu samchung. Now the urgency is totally different because it states that because the doctor said that I should not eat meat, then I feel the need to eat non-vegetarian. So in this case, you see that there is a need. So the need and want will depend on the urgency of sentence. So here the urgency is not high. It's just like, oh, I just don't want to eat meat today. That's why I don't feel like I don't feel the need to eat meat, or I don't feel like I want to eat meat. That's the context here. So the urgency is not urgent. So therefore it's not need. It's like want. But definitely, therefore I always say that when it comes to certain word, duk, ge, right? De, duk, de is a different word. De is a verb. You see, de, what it is it's a verb, right? De is a verb. It's like to say like it's an action word. De. But ge is a particle. So this is the thing. That's why I tell you, never associate meaning to particle. You'll always lose. So you are associating the meaning of need to this particle. This is a particle, it's not a word, but de is a verb. It's not a particle. So therefore you can say, Ngadi degudu, and it will always mean I want. But ge is a particle, so it changes It changes. It's not a constant. It changes with sentences. So therefore, thank you very much for asking this question, because this becomes a wonderful example of why we should never associate meaning to particles. Ge is a particle. So therefore, in this sentence, we don't see there is an urgency. So it becomes want. But in some sentence, we say, which means he needs blood. That is urgency. So it becomes need instead of want. So therefore, this is because ge is not a action word. It's a it's a particle. It's a particle. Therefore, it's something that that is used with, it is used with another verb. So sometimes, depending on the urgency, it changes meaning. So I hope that I clarified this a little bit.
Yes, now I understand. I thought it was a verb, you know. So this is
Less
okay.
so. Less so. So one more question. I have time for one more question. Does anyone have question? One more question regarding today's lesson. So no question. If there's no question, then
But
yes.
me, I have another. Sorry.
Oh, okay, Lasso. Yes. Who is asking the question?
No, Petunia, you carry on.
No,
It's okay.
Faritza,
no problem.
let's
So
I already done mine.
No.
So-
My question is very silly question. So you continue.
okay,
No,
so
please.
definitely. So in that case, we'll have two questions. So let's do two questions. Okay. Now,
So
please,
Faritza first, please.
Lasso. So Farizala, your question.
Thank you so much, Petunia. No, my question is very silly again. Question is
Lasso.
the new words which you have come up, like vegan words and those words. Who decides the words? I mean,
the educational the education department of Central Tibetan Administration decides all these new words. Yes. And
okay.
yes, so they have the special department under them. Actually, we have, like, when it comes to non-scientific terms, most of the terms are are decided by them with the collaboration with Tibetan Cultural Department. But when it comes to scientific, what happens is we have the science department here. So the science department collaborates with the Emory University in United States. So with them, plus the Tibetan Library, and also Tibetan Library and Archives plays a very great role in deciding the terms. Them with the CTA Education Department and Tibetan Cultural Department. But when it comes to scientific things, mostly the CTA doesn't play a great role, because they don't have expertise in those fields. It's mostly the Emory University, with collaboration with here Seraji Monastery Science Center, and with some of the scholars, Tibetan scholars. They come together and they decide those scientific terms. When it comes to scientific terms, this is in that way. But if it's all the other terms, it's CTA with Tibetan Cultural Department. They decide the new words.
Okay. Thank you so much, Kenla. That was
Yes,
that was needed for me to clear, because I was thinking that probably the new words are the common words which are used by people, and therefore they're translated like that. So yeah, this makes more sense. Okay, thank you, Kenla.
Yes, sir. Okay. Now, the last question by Petunia.
Okay, thank you, Genla. I have two questions, but I will ask one in the WhatsApp group. One question is like the usage of yin in several sentences about food. When we translate in English by I will have, you put yin as a verb. And
so yin, as we already Yes, please
Yeah.
continue. So
No, but it's just to understand why you translate I will have, or even like Tashila Shaye Yin, Nam Shame Yin. And usually we translate have by you. So
yes.
why we use yin in this context?
So this is like Tashila Shaya Yinam Shami. This is like, are you having, so it's translated as would you like to eat vegetarian or non-vegetarian food, right? But
Yes.
here is to be more like, it's in the context of saying what your, it's a to be verb here. So it's talking about the nature of the food. It's saying, is your food vegetarian? So it's translated in this, but if you want me to directly translate according to the meaning, it will be like, do you want your food to be vegetarian or to be non-vegetarian? Which doesn't sound good, is it? But that is the actual meaning with the usage of in, because it's a to be verb.
And at the end, like not the last sentence, but just before, lasso nga shogot salmatang tinmo yin.
Yes. So it's like, for me, it's potato and rice, potato and steamed bread. So you see that there is this, it's like more like, oh, for me, or like, you see, the translation are mostly inferential. So I will have been using some of the translation which are not direct translation. But if you want it to be more direct translation, it says, for me, it has to be rice and steamed bread and potato.
But we don't say ngala. So, like for me, we just say
ngala. Yes, you can say ngala. But here, what I have done is like, I have tried to make the sentence as short as possible.
Okay.
Sometimes you can do that, right? So Lasso, and the other questions, please post that on the, definitely post, and make sure that you post all of the questions that you have asked here, both Petunia and Farizala. Please post your question in the group, and I will answer it again in the group so that people can listen again and again to that. So this is it for today's class, and thank you very much for joining in. I will be seeing you on Monday for the Tree of Excellent Speech, and then I'll see you on Tuesday for the basic conversation class. So this is it for today, and thank you for participating. Thank you, Tujana and Tashitele.
Satawajeyo.
Satawajeyo.
Tujanang.
Tujanang Genra.